So our next video is going to take a look at combining like terms. Combining like terms is something we'll have to do when we have an expression that maybe contains multiple terms. Just a reminder, each of these four things count as terms. And they're like terms if they contain the exact same variable components. So notice 4x contains the exact same variable components as 7x. So these are like terms, and often I'll leave them underlined using a similar underline. Now, -3 has no variable component. Well, neither does 11. So I'll leave those double underlined. I want you to notice that I brought the sign along with the term. That's because the sign in front of the term belongs to the term. It's kind of like Mr. Gregoris teaching math. That's like the Mr. So now we'll combine our like terms. Some teachers like to have you rearrange them. So they'll write the like pairs side by side. So 4x plus 7x, I could write side by side. And then I could write 11 minus 3. Now you could also note I could have written this as -3 plus 11 as well. Would have been the same thing, but I like adding and subtracting with the larger positive number first. So now I'll just combine them. It's basically two separate questions. What's 4x plus 7x? Well, that's 11x. And then, the next question, what's 11 minus 3? Well, that's 8. Now we can say that we've simplified this because we went from 4 terms down to 2 terms. And you'll notice that we have combined our like terms, that is, the terms that have the same variable components. Let's take a look at a slightly more difficult example. So again, the same question is going to be simplified. Whew, a little bit trickier. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. I can't possibly have 3 pairs of like terms because, well, I only have 5 terms, not 6. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to underline the like terms. So I have an x here. Oh wait, I have an x there. But notice that this isn't just an x, it's an x squared. The exponent makes this not a like term. So this one won't count as like, but this one will. So what's x plus 4x? Well, that's 5x. And I can cancel those out because I've dealt with them. I'll just continue moving down the line. I have -2x squareds. Now this is a y, so it's not like, but I have minus another x squared over here. So these 2 terms also happen to be like. So what's -2 of something minus another something? Well, that's -3 of something. -3x squared. I know that I'm saying negative, but writing minus. It actually doesn't matter because the sign belongs to the term. So I could say this is 5x plus -3x squared. But remember those redundant signs when we're adding and subtracting with integers. And then I just have this last term left, and it's lonely, it's not paired up with anybody, so we'll just tack it up at the end. That's our last term, and this example is complete. So that example is slightly more tricky, and the keys here where it talked about how the exponent matters when you're talking about like or not like terms. We'll do one last example that is a little bit more difficult, and we know it's more difficult because instead of just saying simplify, it says expand and simplify. So expand and simplify. Well, from before, we know the distributive property is what we're going to run into here, where we have a number in front of a bracketed expression. It's also kind of nice that they tell us what we're doing at the beginning. We're expanding. So where simplifying means take many terms and make them less, expanding says take one term and make it 2, or take a few terms and make it more. Our 2 terms that we're going to get are found by multiplying the 3 into each term or distributing it through each bracket. So 3 times x is 3x. That's the first multiplication. The only one I have left to do is 3 times negative 2, or minus 6. That's the second multiplication. Now I haven't done any math with these last two terms, so I'll just continue to write them out. The expand part is now done. This simply becomes a simplify question. And much like our first example, that underlining strategy can help. You'll notice I have two pairs of like terms. I could rearrange them if I want to show all of my work to 3x plus 5x and negative 6 plus 10. And then now I just have two questions. But I have to be careful not to make any issues with signs. This negative sign is often forgotten. 3x plus 5x is 8x, and negative 6 plus 10 is 4. That has been expanded and simplified.